the other products with the audio notes, the review notes, and the app, they supplement the review course and help you to fit in. Like if you're really busy, if you're a mom, if you're a wife, you're in a leadership position. Like I like to tell people that I had all the reasons why somebody would say, oh, you've got too much going on. And so I was like, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. Like I would tell myself, you're not the first in your situation and you're not going to be the last. So let's go.
Welcome to another episode of the CPA Exam Experience Podcast from SuperfastCPA. I'm Logan, and in today's episode, you're going to hear me talking to Genevieve. Genevieve has a great story. She was somebody who, back in 2007, she graduated. In about 2009, she was able to start sitting for the exams, but then life got in the way. She started having kids. She was a wife. She was a mother. She got a job. And all of these things kind of got in the way, so that every time she did try to sit for the exams, she was never fully prepared. She didn't have the right mindset, she didn't fully commit, and things were just too busy or too hard. So she tried to go for the same exam a couple times, multiple years apart, and ended up getting in the 70s without passing. And instead of continuing to go on, she would get frustrated and drop it for another few years. And that all happened over the course of 14, 15 years. Then finally in 2023, she decided to go for it. She had been promoted to controller recently, and she wanted to make sure that she had the best opportunities that she could have. She didn't want to be the resume at the bottom of the pile because she didn't have her CPA. So she was able to change her mindset, and that's something that she talks about quite a bit, is the big difference from failing before and passing the exams in about 11 months, by the way, was mindset. Changing her mindset and believing she could do it, and not wanting to give up no matter what happened. Now, Genevieve has an awesome story. I think you're going to love it. Again, she was a wife, a mother. She was working full-time, and she'd been out of school for a while, and she was still able to pass the CPA exams. So a lot of people worry about that. You can pass the CPA exams no matter the stage of your life. I just spoke to someone recently, and you'll see this in a future podcast episode, who was 64 or 65 when he passed the CPA exams. So again, you can pass the CPA exams no matter where you are in your life. Just before we dive into the episode with Genevieve, I just want to give one more reminder about our Superfast CPA training webinar on SuperfastCPA.com. Again, that is 1 hour, that is free. It's a free 1 hour webinar where we will teach you the key ingredients to passing the CPA exam so you don't waste months or even years of your time failing exams. And then after that, you're going to want to learn more, so make sure you go check out becoming a Superfast CPA Pro member. They get access to a lot of great stuff, including the Pro Member Forum, the Pro Course, where we go very in-depth on how to pass the CPA exam, and Pro members also get access to our multiple choice question walkthrough videos that explain blueprint tasks, task by task, with multiple choice questions so that you can get extra understanding and get extra help with the things that you need help with. So make sure you check out becoming a Pro member. And with all that out of the way, let's dive into the interview with Genevieve. So good morning, Genevieve. Thanks for getting on the call with me today. I'm excited to talk to you. It's been a little bit since you passed. Is that right?
Yes, I passed at the end of 2023. So
Okay. So sorry for getting to you late, but I'm excited to talk to you about your journey. So let's kind of just, like what I always like to do, is just kind of start at the beginning. So what were you doing when you decided to start going for the CPA? Like, how did you get to that point?
that's a good question. So my story is a little unique in that my journey was a long one, but not in the way that you would think. So I graduated in 2007, and shortly after, I got married in 2009, and I had kids, and I went back and finished the hours to be eligible to sit in 2010. Or 2011. And so I think I attempted one exam at that point, and then had a baby, and then shortly had another one. And I think it was about 2015, I said, okay, I'm going to try this again. And was not successful. I took regulation, and got close. I think I made like a 72. And, if I could go back and tell myself like how close I was, I, would probably like shake myself. But at that time it was like, oh, well, I can't do this.
I guess it's not the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I tried to get in 2018. I think I took reg again, and got very close again, like 71, and was like, I got too much going on. I can't do this. And my mindset wasn't in the right place. And so I had resolved that I'm not doing this. This is too much. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm working full time, I'm really busy. I'm not doing this. And my husband had said, "Oh, you'll do it one day." And I would get kind of mad at him and be like, "No, I'm not doing this. I'm not putting myself through this." But what changed for me was in 2021, I was promoted to controller
Mm-hmm.
very organically. And then I moved on to another role in 2022. And it was a split moment, I think, in January 2023, where I just very rashly decided that, you know what, I think I'm going to do this. And the rationale behind it was that I didn't ever want my resume to be at the bottom of a pile or me not be considered for a role that I'm capable of doing because I'm not a CPA. Because I already
Yeah.
made it to that controller level
Yeah.
without the CPA. And so I was like, I don't ever want to be constantly having to prove that
Mm-hmm.
I can do this. I know accounting without having it. And so it's been really worth it in opening doors for me in the last 2 years. So the journey was worth it, but it was quite a journey. So I was like
Yeah.
in the system as a candidate for like 15 years before I became licensed. But I think when I like really decided I'm going to do this, it took me 11 months.
Okay, so just to kind of like summarize summarize what happened. So 2007, and you're talking about graduating with your master's degree, is that right? Or did
My
you finish
bachelor's,
with your
yeah, I
bachelor's
did
and
the
then you got the extra
150
credit
hours.
hours later?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then off and on tried failed at some different times, and family totally makes sense, being a busy mom and a wife and working, but eventually decided to go for it. And so when you decided to go for it again, well, actually, what was the difference, do you think, those other times? Like before you committed at the beginning of 2023, why do you think that the other times before that you just it just didn't work, or you just couldn't make it stick? Like, yeah, what was the difference, do you think?
It was 100% mindset. 100% mindset. Nothing drastically changed in my ability to understand
Mm-hmm.
accounting, right? Between then, because I was much further away from having been in school, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 2023, when I decided, it was mindset. So I think at that time, I had a mindset of like, oh, I only made a 70. Like, and what was
Mm-hmm.
crazy about those times was I would open the book, I would start out all excited, I'm going to do this,
Mm-hmm.
um, study for a month, and I'd schedule the exam 3 months out, study so hard for a month, and then um, about 6 weeks in, life would happen, and then I wouldn't open the book for like an entire month before the exam, and I would be like, I'm not going to take it, I'm going to fail. But I would go and I would sit for it because I paid for it.
Yeah.
So I like if I would have just thought like you made a 72 without opening the book for the last month, like what could happen if you'd actually opened it for like the next
Right.
last 4 weeks?
Yeah.
But I didn't understand that at the time. I was like, yeah, I knew I couldn't do this. And so even though I was so close, so when I decided to do it in 2023, it was January, and what gave me that extra push of urgency, I guess, is that the two things happened. The exam was going to change drastically in
Mm-hmm. Yep.
2024. And so people were, scores only came out 4 times a year.
Yeah, it
And
was brutal.
so, so I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to give it everything I have right now. And so it was a big mindset shift, and I told myself, like, I promised myself one thing, like to keep opening the book until the exam day. Like,
Right.
don't drop the potato, just
Mm-hmm.
keep opening the book, and I want to be able to give it everything I have and just see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
There's a quote that I like that says, like, focus on the process without becoming emotionally attached to the results. And it can apply to like a lot of different things in life, but especially with the CPA exam, because we get really anxious, like waiting for the exam scores, or if am I studying enough, um, or the fear that I had is if I put everything into studying and I still fail, then what?
Right.
But you know, what's the opposite of that is if you don't, then, it's that
It's
quote
never
by
going to
Theodore
happen.
Roosevelt that's like talks about being in the arena. Like, at least if I fail, I would have failed with giving everything I had and being able to
Hmm.
walk away with satisfaction that, okay, I gave it everything that I had to give.
Right.
So that is kind of what my mindset was, or, you know, studying, even if it's not perfect, it's going to be messy. It's like, as accountants, we try to be perfect. Like, we make this schedule, like I'm going to wake up at 4 o'clock every day and I'm going to study for this and I'm going to get this done and I'm going to get that done and I'm going to get XYZ in this. And if we don't do it, if one day doesn't go perfect, then, oh, all goes to hell. I can't do this anymore. So like, you got to kind of change that mindset and be more fluid like water. Okay, I didn't get it in the morning, but I've got to get it at
At some
9
point.
or during
Hmm.
lunchtime or somewhere. I've got to figure this out because we can plan, but things are not always as predictable as like we like them to be. So I
Hmm.
think the difference between pre 2023 and 2023 was mindset, because I still
Hmm.
had kids. I still, my
Still
job,
working.
still working, and even more demanding because I was in a leadership role and I still am. Um, so it was a lot to balance. And I'd say, like, I did it. I had a lot of support. Like, my husband supported me. He pushed me to do it and told me, like, you're going to do this one day. And I was like, no, I'm not. And I would get mad at him. But when I decided to do it, it was my idea.
Hmm.
And he was really supportive in helping with the kids and giving me the space to be able to study. And another thing that helped me was, other people were making sacrifices to help me create the space. And I myself had to make sacrifices. And I didn't want those to be in vain, right?
Right.
Like, I wanted, if other people are making sacrifices and I'm making sacrifices, I have better make it worth it,
Hmm.
to where I've left nothing on the table, right? And really knowing, like, my why. Um, by the time I started studying, my kids were 9 and 11. So they are very much aware of what's going on. What is mom
Right.
doing? Why is she studying? What is she doing? They're not little tiny toddlers or babies anymore to, like, have no idea what's going on. So if I, like, say, like, oh, I can't do this, I'm going to give up. Like, what message is that sending to them?
Hmm.
And at the same time, like, my daughter was in, I think she was in fifth and sixth grade, because I did it all of 2023 in January, and she was at the end of sixth grade and the beginning of end of fifth grade, beginning of sixth grade, which is a
Hmm.
very interesting time. And she was taking, like, advanced math. And so there would be times where I'd be studying and she'd come and, Mom, I don't understand this math. So I had to put down far, whatever it is, and pick up whatever math, and we'd be going through it. And so, like, she'd get upset and be like, oh, Mom, I can't do this. I'm not going to do well in this test. And she, she's just like me and getting upset like that. And so I would tell her, like, well, you've got to, if you fall off that horse, you got to get back on. And
Hmm.
so in my, like, telling her that, it's like, okay, I have to
You're reminding
follow
yourself.
that too.
Yeah.
I can't tell her and not do it. So I had to really be that. That held me accountable, right? Like, that
Hmm.
held me accountable, like, where at a higher level where I didn't quite have that before.
Yeah.
So
So your mindset changed, and then so at the beginning of 2023, what were you like? At what point did you find Superfast CPA? Like, how did that all start?
So I think I passed reg without it. So I started, and I think I sent my but it's not notice to schedule, or they send
Yeah,
you a notice, but you apply to
NTS.
take the exam, whatever
Yeah.
that's called. And I think I passed reg without it, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to do FAR now. And so I think I don't want to say I got lucky with reg, because I did put in a lot of work, but I had taken it like 3 or 4 times before, even if
Yeah.
it was several years prior. So I was a little bit more familiar with how it went. And so then I was going to tackle the big Goliath, which was FAR, because I wanted to do reg and get, like, a win under my belt to get that
Right.
momentum going. And then I was like, I'm not leaving FAR for last, because, like, I'm not going to be like past all of them and then I'm got FAR in front of me and then I've got a situation. So I was like, I want to get that done and then I'll be downhill. So I found SuperfastCPA and watching the testimonial videos, and I was like, okay, I think this will
Mm-hmm.
help. And what helped me the most was, I think Nate has you take like a course
The pro
at the
course.
beginning where he's like telling you, okay, here's like some mindset work, here's how to study. And it was very validating for me because that's how I studied in college. Doing the questions, practicing the questions over and over again. And I think I'd already like knew instinctively to do that. But I got distracted because there's so much out there. There's Facebook groups, there's people on LinkedIn who will coach you for the CPA exam. There's people on Facebook and Reddit and
And
every
the review
CPA,
courses say how to study
and
too.
the review courses say how to study too, and it's very overwhelming. And I think that was what part of my issue was, like prior to me like really locking in and getting focused in 2023, is that I get really overwhelmed with what to do, and I felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing because this is what the review courses say to do, even though it wasn't like best fit for me. So when I watched Nate's course and it was like, you just need to focus on the questions, you just need to focus on what you're actually going to be doing and learning the concepts, it was very like validating for me. And I took it, I did a lot of what he did because it's how I naturally like to study. But I took it a step further. I was like, okay, I'm gonna, and I think it also taught me the mindset of like where he said you don't need 3 months to study for an exam. I believed I did, and I was like, oh no, there's no way. That's only for like those smart people. I can't I just sit there and study for 6 weeks for an exam and pass it. Like what is this? I can't do this. So listening to that and hearing his story, I was like, okay, like maybe I should rethink this. And so how that really helped me was like, okay, I think I got through reg. I think I scheduled it in January, didn't take it till April. So that's like and I was like,
Okay.
oh, I'm going to be in my busy season with, audit. I got to get through the audit and year end and all of that stuff. I'm going to be super busy. So I need all this time. Well, what happened was I didn't study like most of March because I was so busy with work. I didn't study. So like the magic really happened in probably like the 2 weeks leading up to my exam where I like really locked in and like did what I had to do and like passed it. So for FAR, I still didn't quite get it. And I'll tell you what I did. I used Gleim, and I was like, okay, I'm not buying this whole bells and whistles review course because I didn't even trust myself if I was gonna like follow through. I was like, I'm buying one section at a time, and I'm just buying the book and the test bank. And we're like, if I can make it happen with this, then for the next one, I'll buy the bells and whistles review course. So I did it with just the book and the test bank with Reg. And for FAR, I bought the whole thing just for that one section. And I quickly realized this is BS. I can't get through like all this is asking me to do. Like it was stressing me out, saying like, okay, you've got to do this whole chapter, and we're gonna test like it timed you on how fast you went through. I was like, no, like I've got to learn this. To hell with the timer. I can't do this. Or the quiz. I mean, they were helpful. So I would like submit the whole thing unanswered and then go through each question one time and get a zero because the scores would really like mess with me. So I was like, okay, we're not following the course. And so I followed, like, okay, like I'm going to do this on my time and what I understand. And I would actually open the book and I said, like, we're going to go back to college. We're going to go back old school. And we're going to, like, I would open the book and go to, like, the hardest, most longest drawn out example. And I would copy it. Then I would, like, cover up the answer and I would do it 3 times or 4 times until I didn't need the assistance of, like, the answer anymore. And like it's quality over quantity because some people are like, oh, I'm doing 150 questions a day. I could never, like, because I would take too long on each question because I really want to like understand it and understand why each one of them are wrong. And they can only ask you about the same concept so many different ways, but it's critical to like understand the concept. So if you go through a million questions and you lightly understand it and you're just like memorizing the questions, you're not memorizing the concept. So I would sit there and like go into like a retreat of like going through the examples and writing them out and handwriting it out. And I don't believe in flashcards. I know like they released the flashcards, but like the concept, I would still do it. I would write out, like, I'm not doing flashcards. No, I'm not doing that. But I would take, I think, the spirit of it and still write out in like a Word document or Excel document in my own words, this is why this is. And this is why these answers are wrong. And so I would go back and read it, but I couldn't sit there and do flashcards. But that's me. But I think the spirit of it is like maybe taking the spirit of what he's saying and like making it work for you. And so I failed FAR the first time. I gave myself like 3 months, and FAR is a lot to get through. It was a lot.
Especially in 2023, it was in Becker. It was 10 sections. It was even bigger in 2023 than it is now. So
yeah,
you were
so
doing
I took the big one. I took the older one, the harder one.
Me too.
And so it was a lot. And so I made a 68 the first time I took FAR. And
was this with SuperfastCPA CPA at that point?
I think I had already purchased it, and I was like reading through the notes, and I would listen to the audio, and I would practice the questions on my phone. But my mindset was different this time. And I was like, okay, if I hadn't studied, I would not have gotten 68 points. I would have gotten 30 or who knows what. But like the 68 shows progress that I did study something and I did get somewhere. And so I somehow took my exam on like a cutoff to where I had to wait a month to get it. And I know that sounds like people from 2024 are going to like try to crucify me for saying that. But in 2023, like scores were coming out every 2-3 weeks. So I had to wait a month to find out that I failed. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so this is now end of August. And I've only passed one exam. And I've got 3 ahead of me if I'm going to finish this thing in 2023 to get ahead, outside
to not have to worry about 2024.
To not have to worry about 2024. And I'd already scheduled BEC in October. So I was up against it. And I was like, okay, Nate, I can do this in 4 weeks or 3 weeks. Like you say, like, here's the test, right? Like this is where the rubber is going to meet the road. So I had a dilemma because we're at the end of August and I have BEC in 2 months and I failed FAR and I still haven't taken audit. So like, what am I going to do? And all of the testing slots and the time I wanted to take it, there were none available in Houston anymore. So I was like, what am I going to do? So I was like, I could try to take both of them back to back at the end of October, or I could give myself 4 weeks to regroup for FAR, take it, and then give myself 3 weeks to take for BEC. And I was like, this is crazy. I like, no, old me would have never like agreed to this and be like, no, there's no way I'm gonna succeed doing this. But I told myself, I was like, okay, if I was in college or at university, like they like a professor would give you these are your final exams. And you don't have a choice. You got to get your act together and show up for those final exams, or you fail the course or whatever it is. And it's what I love about the CPA exam journey and how it kind of like carves you out of like you're cut from a different cloth is like, it really tests like how accountable and how disciplined are you going to be to yourself.
Yep.
Because there's no one.
It's only to you. Yep.
It's only to you. There's no professor saying, here's when your exam is. And because you can push it, you can cancel it, you cannot show up. And the only accountability is that it's to yourself that you haven't done it, right? Or to whatever. It's up to you. There's no outside force saying you got to get this done or you failed or you're not going to get your degree or you're not going to get whatever. It's all up to you to like designate that timing. So I made myself my own professor and said, here's when your exams are, figure it out. And I like going back to the mindset of like, at least if 2024 comes around, I will at least be able to say, I gave it everything I had.
Right.
I left it all on the table and I gave it my best shot and I have no regrets, whether I fail or not. So I scheduled FAR outside of town. I drove an hour and a half, stayed overnight. I went to Texas A&M and took it, and I went to University of Texas, and we're rivals. So I was like, that was a thing, but we love each other, right? My mom went with me, so there's another like people making sacrifices for me. I was like, if I'm gonna go out of town and bring my mom with me and stay overnight, I better make this work.
Yeah.
So like I locked in over the next 4 weeks. Like my husband was with my kids, and so people were making sacrifices for me. So I was like, you better lock in. And I gave it everything I had. And I think 2 weeks later, like I didn't even give myself time. Like I took FAR and immediately started on BEC. I had 21 days for BEC. And I found out like right in the middle of like studying for BEC that I passed FAR.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was all like at work and crying, and like my team, they were all, oh yay. And then it's like, okay, straighten up. We got to go. Like we got BEC like in 21 days.
Like
and I was like, it was crazy. And so I made a little schedule for myself. To hell with the review course and their schedule. Like I made my own schedule. I listed out the chapters in each book, in the book. I know like a lot of advice out there will tell you like, don't read the book, just start with the questions. I could not do that for the most part, because reading just the questions gave me anxiety when I didn't have any context. And I was like, even if I just glossed over the book, it didn't take a lot of time with it and just really went through a fast read of the chapter, I at least felt like I had some context. But like doing the questions without any context, like it gave me anxiety. So like I couldn't do that. So far, I read that entire book.
Wow.
Except for maybe some of the chapters that I already like had a strong hold on. I was like, I'm not about to read about certain things because I already kind of knew them from real life. So, but BEC, I did not read the book because I had 3 weeks, and the material and content in it was more or less like I felt like I could figure it out without reading it. Well, and I did because I passed it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like
that's
wow,
impressive.
okay.
Yeah,
I did
BEC
it.
in 3 weeks. That's awesome. What was your
I
score?
did it, and I was like, and I surprised myself because I was one of those people that's like, I can't do that. I need at least 3 months for each exam. Okay, but I just was like, let's see what happens. Just don't hold yourself to like a hard, okay, let's just see what happens. Give it everything you have and let's just see what happens. So that gave me, how long? Then I had audit. And so we go back to August, I had 3 exams and only 1 pass. And then I had like 3 months to pass the rest of them. So in August, I already had BEC scheduled. I scheduled FAR for end of September. And then as soon as I became eligible, I submitted the thing for audit to take it in December. So I had 3 exams scheduled and only 1 pass. And I was like, what the heck am I doing? And so I passed FAR and took BEC, and I had a little bit more time for audit. And I read the entire book for audit. And I felt like I had to because the wording is tricky, and like you've got to know, like where I saw something that says like this answer is right before another question for audit. So I really locked in. I think I had 4 weeks. I think I had, well, a little bit longer. I took it December 15th, I think, which was the very last day that you could take an exam before everything changed. The blackout, the very last day. And I was like, oh my gosh. So, and I found out that I passed all of them the day after Christmas. So
that's
a
awesome.
nice, it was a nice Christmas. And I was like, I still kind of can't believe I did it after almost 2 years. I'm still like, I'm a CPA.
Yeah. When like really what you're saying, like you really passed them, like when you consider like, I mean, you studied for like 11 months, but like the passing ones, you studied FAR for 4 weeks, you studied BEC for 3 weeks, you studied audit for 4 weeks, you studied reg for like 3 months. So like really it was only like, I don't know, like 7 months or something like that when it's like well, I guess it was still the 11 months, but like that's really impressive that you passed them all, especially those last 3 in just a few weeks each. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think like for FAR, I was studying from like May through July
Hmm.
to get it at the end of July. I didn't pick up a book between July and the end of August when I found out I failed. So I went from not picking up a book, nothing, because I was like, I guess I'll take a break and wait till I get my score. And when I found out I failed, I immediately got into action and was like, okay, 4 weeks, we got to do this. So I guess it's interesting because I went from not studying anything for 4 weeks and then picking it right back up for 4 more weeks and was able to pass it.
So throughout this whole process, we've kind of talked about your journey, about like the timelines and things like that. But I would like to know a bit more about what your studying looked like day to day. So like, did you study in the morning? How long did you study? What did that all look like?
So I would say all of the above. Like I've seen someone say like you've got to be fluid like water and fill in wherever you can get it in. So I would have the best intentions to get up at 4 a.m. and study. And at a previous time in my life, I was probably really good at that. But at that time and now, I'm like less of a morning person as I used to be. So I would try, and sometimes I would be successful getting up and studying early in the morning. Um, and sometimes I was successful, and sometimes I wasn't. I didn't like the back end constraint of like, oh, I've got to go to work, because if I was like really locked
Right.
into something and I'm like studying, it's like, oh, I've got to go, I've got to transition. I didn't like the way that felt. And then I would be up so early that like by noon, you're like, okay, I need a nap. Um,
Yeah.
but I did try. And so I would say like I was not able to study at work. My job was very demanding, but
And you're
it
talking
was
about like mini sessions when you say like you couldn't study at work, or just in
um
general?
I would go, like when I would drive to lunch, I was always had the audio on in my car.
Hmm.
Always listening to stuff, always, I think it's important that one of the things that when we go back to mindset that really helped me and being able to get every little thing in is I used to think that those little mini sessions didn't matter or it wasn't enough to make an impact or move the needle. But it's the little things you do over and over. Like it still takes 100 pennies to make a dollar, right?
Hmm.
The little compounded things over and over that add up to something. So adopting that mindset of like every little bit helps.
Hmm.
It really does, because I remember, I don't know what exam it was, but it could have been FAR, that there was a question and I was at the exam taking it, and there was something that I remembered from the audio notes that helped me answer the question that was just like embedded in my brain, that I could hear like Nate's voice saying like, oh, don't ask me
Yeah.
what it was, I don't remember. But so just because I remember when I took FAR and when I made the 60, I didn't feel like it was going well when I was taking it. I was like, but when I learned from taking it was that the questions were not so hard that it was impossible. I
Hmm.
remember reading the questions and being like, the answer's on the tip of my tongue, but I just don't know it well enough to
Hmm.
confidently answer this. But it was right there. And I remember thinking like if I'd have just pushed a little harder or taken an opportunity to fill up all, like being fluid like water, taking up all the little spaces, I probably would know the answer to these. So every little bit really does count. Um, and so I had my book, the big textbook, I would bring it to work with me and I would carry it with me. It was like symbolic of, even though I was like during lunch, if I have time, I'm going to open it and I'm going to do something. And what I would do when I say like I read the books, well, this is what my studying looked like. In Gleim's books, it was a chapter that you would read it, and then it had like 20 questions at the end of each chapter. And this is like paper
Oh, this
book.
is in the book. Okay.
In the book, there would be like 20 review questions. And that's where I would start. I would read the chapter and I would time myself to be like, okay, you only got an hour to read this chapter, because I could, you know, take forever. And then like you're not because the questions are where you're really going to like test
Hmm.
your knowledge. but I get anxious if I haven't read the book. So I would read as quickly as I could. And like I say, you have to be fluid. Like I didn't always read because I didn't read anything for BEC except for like, how do I answer this question? And I go find it. And I would take the question, I would answer the questions at the back of the book. And I'd be like, okay, I've done this chapter. Then I would go to the test bank on the computer online and I would practice over and over. And I think the idea that Nate talks about of cumulative testing is so important, so important. And during those times when you're like, I need to study, but I'm tired. I'm like, I'm done. If you even study the things that you know well, where you're not having to crack your brain open, it's still helping, right? Or if you're still reviewing things that you already have studied and you know the concepts pretty well, if you just go back and reread those notes that you are already familiar with and save the brain breaking, like learning new concepts work for when your brain is fresh and on the weekends. And so that was kind of like what my strategy was. Like I would try to practice questions and do cumulative review throughout the week. And on the weekends, be like, okay, we're locking in. I really took advantage of the weekends. And like one thing I'll say that I had to learn and accept is that everybody wants to find that crack the code of how to make the CPA process studying for it easier or hack it. You're not going to hack it. It's going to take work. It's going to take sacrifice. And once you like accept that this is not going to be easy by any means, but it'll be worth it. And you just like, okay, I have to accept this. Then it makes it easier knowing that this is not going to be easy. There's no secret. Like you have to work for it. Even if you're just looking at the questions and it's going to look like Greek to you until like, you're like, okay, I understand. It's going to be messy. So, and you have to allow yourself to change your process depending on what you're studying, because you may be stronger in one area than in another. So you've got to take a different route to get there. You've got to take a different strategy. So like somebody who works in tax is not going to, and that's all they've ever done. It might be harder for them to get through audit where it's wordplay,
Yeah.
And I think also like not comparing yourself to other people. Like I knew someone who told me like it took me 3 tries to pass audit, and it was somebody that I really respect and look up to. And I thought, oh, she's so super smart. Like if it took her 3 tries to do audit, it's going to take me like 1 million. And I passed it the first time. So it's, don't compare. And it's, yeah. So I don't know. I got off on a tangent.
No, it's okay. So kind of going back to your like studying you tried studying in the mornings, but it kind of ended up just being the best time that you could each day. Was that always 2 hours or was that sometimes less? And then during that time, it sounds like you read the textbook and then would do the questions. Am I understanding that right?
To me, like I say, like I liked my old school method of what I did in college, right? Like we didn't have test banks. Like you have an exam in intermediate too. Like you had your book and you had like maybe a practice book of questions to practice over and over. And I know I learn well like that. So, and that's comfortable to me. And I know that it works. So that's what I did. And I was like, I'm going to read this. And like for some of the hairy, nasty examples that like, or like ASC 842 lease accounting, or like, oh my gosh, I would just take the example of each of the different types and I would write out the example.
Right.
And while I would write myself notes about why this is this and why this is that. And then I would do it over and over again until I was like, I'm super comfortable. And then I would do that. Then when I would go to the questions, it would be easy.
It would click. Okay.
It would click. And I made my kids study like that too when they're, I don't understand this math. Okay, you're going to take this one question and you're going to do it 5 times without getting help from your previous like work. You're going to do it over and over again until like it's muscle memory where your brain knows what to do and understands the concepts. And I learned that sort of like from this book that I read a long time ago called A Mind for Numbers. and it talks about how to learn those technical things, how to learn math, basically. And accounting is like not the most complex, not calculus, but it's
No.
math involved, but
Yeah.
it's a technical, like in learning the concepts, like if you muscle memory, learning it over and over again, not memorizing the questions, but the concepts. You can
Yes.
take the hairiest example in a book and do it over and over again. It's really going to like help you because they can only ask a question so many ways, right?
Yeah. And you're really getting at the heart of what we try to teach at Superfast CPA, which is that, like you were saying before, that constant cumulative review, just constantly doing things over and over again, seeing it over and over again. If you're struggling with it, you take the time to dive into it. But just that constant review makes it so that when by the time you get to exam day, like you were talking about, you have that muscle memory where you don't have the questions memorized, or maybe you do, but more so you have the concepts memorized, so that no matter what form you see it in, you will know, okay, I'm this is what it's dealing with. I know what this is, in my brain, and so you know how to answer it. And so that a lot of what you're saying is really getting at the heart of that, is just that constant way of making it make sense to yourself. So I really like what you're saying. And so when you would do the textbook and the questions, and then you said that you listened to the audio notes a lot throughout the day as well. Um, what did you take mini quizzes? Did you ever use the review notes? What did those look like?
So the mini quizzes on the phone, on the app, I use
Mm-hmm.
those a lot, especially for FAR, BEC, like waiting in the doctor's office. I would be on my phone taking the questions, and
Mm-hmm.
um, the test bank in there is not like it's really good because like you'll see some of the similar questions, and they're light enough to where like you can do the math in your head or
Mm-hmm.
like it. Um, it's not like you've got to sit out there with your phone and draw out like
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff. But I really liked that was helpful. Is like, and when I'd be there, like I'm exhausted, I don't feel like I can go any more today, but I need to try to do something. I would open the app and I would do the quizzes. And if I'd be like, okay, I need to take a break at work. Okay, I'm going to open the app and I'm going to do the quiz, like quiz myself on the concepts. And it really did help, I think, especially with BEC and audit. Really helped the app. And I would read through the notes. The notes really helped me, I think, on FAR.
Mm-hmm.
um, Reading through the notes, I would read through them, especially the second time. I just was like, okay, I'm going to read through these one last time, like especially the week of the exam. So the way that I did things, but I would take the week off before the exam. I would always schedule it like
Off
on a
of work.
Friday or a Saturday, and I would like study the entire week
Okay.
leading up to the exam, and that I think like a lot of magic happens, and I think Nate talks about that.
Yeah, we
Like,
talk about a 48-hour cram session. Yeah,
yeah,
where Saturday and the Sunday before you do that. Yeah.
yeah. So I would pull it back to I would always take my exams like on a Friday or Saturday, and so it was not 48 hours for me. It was more like 40
The whole
hours.
week.
Yeah, the whole week, or yeah,
So are you saying you took work off? Is that what you're
yeah.
saying? And then you
hmm
okay. So you would
I
study
took
the whole
work
week.
off, and then I would take that whole weekend. I would study all day. And one thing I think I did learn, like when I wasn't successful at FAR, was my brain was really tired because I pushed myself too hard. And so I think like stopping at the day before, like at, I don't know, everybody knows themselves, but you got to give your brain time to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't done that the day before. So for each next exam, I made sure to be like, okay, like pencils down
Mm-hmm.
after a certain point so that you can let your brain go off and think about something else and like recover from that part of your brain like going so hard. So I would be like pencils down after maybe noon the day before the exam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that, and I do think that there's something to be said about that. I talk a lot about this a lot to some of my coaching clients. Like, you don't want to do an exam too quickly usually, because you want to make sure you have time to prepare, but you also don't want to take too long, because that leads to burnout. And that's kind of very similar to what you're saying. Like, you gotta, at some point, you just gotta stop, let yourself kind of just, you've done what you can, and then you go take the exam. And that's kind of what you're saying. There's, you had done all that studying, and then you gave yourself a little bit of a break, like 12 hours or 18 hours, to just not have to worry about it. And what did it look like when you went into these exams? How did they go? Did you feel confident any of the times? Did you, how did you feel each time?
So that's interesting because like when I took reg, I felt, you feel confident in certain areas and maybe, I didn't get that question right. It can kind of like you're thinking through and, who doesn't go home and look up an answer to a question that you weren't sure of? Like,
Yeah.
and that, I got it right, or, I got, that can totally affect how you feel about it. After reg, I thought I did like, I think I did a great job. And I made a 78. And I was a
Mhm.
little disappointed because I was like, I thought I did better than that. And then I had to like kind of slap myself and be like, you passed. Like that's all that
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
Um, and for FAR, I made a 68. And then after I came out of the time that I passed, I was like, okay, I felt more confident. I felt like I definitely did better than the first time, but you still just never know, right? And so
Hmm.
I made a
Yeah.
77 that second time, and I was so excited. I wasn't mad. Like with
Yeah. You
Ray,
passed. Yeah.
I passed, and then with BEC, I was like, okay, I feel like I think I did it, because now like you've gotten a feel for
Yeah.
how do I feel after exams compared to like how I did. But you're never gonna come out and be like, oh, I know I passed. Like I think if you're doing that, maybe I don't know, take it a few steps down or something. But I mean that may be the case for some people, but I was never like, oh, I absolutely know I passed. Like I was hopeful, but I've seen, you hear the stories of people like, oh, I know I passed, and then they made like a 42, and it's like, what's really going on? And I'm like, so I was like, I don't want to be arrogant like that, and then like, oh, I'm coming for like a rude awakening. But I would say I was hopeful. Like I felt like, okay, I think I did a good job, but still like, we'll see. And then after audit, because it's so tricky. Like I came out
Hmm.
feeling like, oh, I remember telling like the proctor, because I like made her nervous because I was like, this is my last one, and like it's changing, and like she was nervous for me when I came out, and I was like, I think I did it. I think I did it, and she was like, oh, I'm so nervous for you, and I was like, well, if you don't see me back next year, then like
Yeah.
then I pass, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I made a 78 on like 78 was like my magic number. But I made a 77 on bar, so it was all around the same. I made a 78 on audit, and I was like just so excited. I just wanted to pass on that one because it was the
Yeah.
very last exam and the very last
Chance.
chance before
Yeah.
everything changed. And so
Yeah.
I was like, I'm still kind of like when I think about it, like relive it. I'm in like my Christmas that year was like I was so nervous. I was like on edge, like oh my god, like I couldn't think about anything but waking up the next morning and like what am I, like this is the real Christmas present or
Yeah.
not, But
Yeah.
it ended up being a Christmas present. Like I woke my kids up. They thought like somebody was murdering me because I was so nervous. But it's a nice memory to think back on.
Yeah. That must have been tough to have to like be there on Christmas and be like, I don't actually know my score yet. Like, you know, I I remember, yeah, I was studying similar. I was studying like the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. So kind of somewhere around the same times as you. Um, and what did you score on BEC? Do you remember?
78.
70. Oh yeah, so 78, 78. I actually, and I have no shame in saying this either. I never scored above an 80 on any of my exams. I got a 78 on audit, 79 on FAR, 75 on BC, and a 79 on reg. And but I passed them all, and that's all that really matters, and that's all that really mattered for you. And so that's awesome. I do actually have one more question, before we maybe start wrapping up, because I know you probably need to get to work. Uh, we haven't really talked about Sims at all. How did you have a strategy for studying Sims? How did you study those?
I really focused a lot on them in multiple choice
Hmm.
questions. And for reg, I think I did like, they give you that little report. It says like where you were strong or weak or in certain areas. and I was the only exam that I was stronger on Sims than MCQs was Reg.
Oh wow.
And maybe because I'd taken it so many times, but I I think I went through some longer Sim examples on Reg earlier through my studying. For FAR, I feel like probably should have done more because there were some Sims that I was like, I felt pretty confident on, and others where I was like, oh, Hail Mary. Like, I have no idea. Or like, let me try this. So, BEC, they had the little thing about, but we had to write the little memos for that
Yeah.
one. I
Oh,
didn't
those
try
were
it.
the
I
worst.
didn't practice
Yeah.
that. I do that every day at work. So I'm not practicing that. And so I just did what I had to do for that. And I don't remember what other BEC sims there were, but I don't recall them being too bad. Audit, I feel like, oh, I probably should have practiced this more, but should I have? I mean, I passed.
Hey,
So
you passed. Yeah, so it
yeah.
doesn't. Yeah, who
So
cares?
I would say like I focused on MCQs and understanding the concepts. And I think that, the Sims can be intimidating at first. And I would suggest like practicing them just to get a feel for them in your
Yeah.
review course. But I wouldn't, I think they can be really good for helping reinforce concepts. But I would say like I, what I did is I focused like probably 90% on MCQs
Yeah.
and maybe
And
more.
and
And
that.
I like at the in my very end, like the day before, I'd be like, oh, I need to practice the sim, and I'd go out there and be like, okay, let me try to get through one at the last minute is when I would try to practice sims if I'm being honest. But
Hmm.
I focused heavily on examples in the book and MCQs over and over again. I would only read the book like once. I wouldn't go back to the book reading it over and over.
Hmm.
I just had to get that context in my brain because I would get anxious reading MCQs and not having any idea of what's going on. For certain concepts, like if I have no familiarity with what's going on, okay, I need to read the book. If I have some sort of familiarity where I can like navigate through because what I liked about Gleim was their answer choice, their explanations were very thorough. And I probably the same is said for any review course, but I really liked their explanations, and I would take my time and go through each one of those explanations and understand why they're all wrong, and not just be like, okay, oh, I got that one wrong, I got that one wrong, oh, that's right because of this. Well, why are these other ones wrong?
Hmm.
And then you actually find yourself when you're on the CPA exam, when you're going through them, when I'm not sure about this. That one's wrong because of XYZ. That one's
Hmm.
wrong because of
You can
whatever.
reason your
And
way
so
through it.
you're able
Hmm.
to get through it.
Yeah. And I actually think that that's what you just mentioned is definitely a skill that, because it is a skill that comes from practicing the multiple choice questions so much. You can, and I would say this confidently for every exam and especially for audit, if you can think your way through the different options, almost guaranteed you'll be able to find at least two of them that make no sense. It's like
Yeah,
there's no way that that could be the right answer just because of your experience. So you can almost always narrow a question down to two answers,
yeah,
almost always, and that makes it a lot easier because you've practiced so much. I really like what you were saying there. And to kind of start wrapping up, I have two last questions. First question, we've probably talked somewhat about it throughout the interview, but to summarize, what would be the benefits that you got from Superfast CPA? Like, why do you think that helped your process?
I think it helped my process for several ways. It helped me with the mindset. I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of folks struggle with is there's so much out there that is a distraction
Yeah.
that he really teaches you like how to get to the heart of how to study, especially if you're struggling. I know people who've watched all the lectures and done all the things and they've been successful and good for them. But if you find yourself struggling, the way that he teaches you to study and the mindset is spot on. And the other products with the audio notes, the review notes, and the app, they supplement the review course and help you to fit in. Like if you're really busy, if you're a mom, if you're a wife, you're in a leadership position. Like I like to tell people that I had all the reasons why somebody would say, oh, you've got too much going on. And so I was like, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. Like I would tell myself, you're not the first in your situation and you're not going to be the last. So let's go. And those products really helped fill in being fluid like water. Where I have time, okay, I'm sitting in the doctor's office, I can go through these questions on the app, or I can pull up the notes on PDF when I'm like, okay, I have had enough of work for right now, and I can read through them and reinforce that. In the car, we're listening to the audio notes. I'm sorry, kids, we're not listening to music right now. Y'all are
Did they
fixing to
know it just
learn.
as well as you did by the end?
Yeah. Well, my daughter, I'm like, I think she would be a good CPA. She's like almost 14, and it's on her list of like possible professions. So here I am helping the pipeline, right? And so I don't want to push it too much because like sometimes they'll like go against like what you're suggesting. But
Well, if you want me
yeah,
to, then no, I won't.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, we were listening to cash flow statement and all that kind of stuff in the car. Sorry, like I gotta get it in, fit it in wherever I can. So I think those are the ways that Superfast CPA really helped me. But definitely, like the mindset was and how to study was like really
Yeah.
the biggest thing for me and was worth it for me.
I love it. And that is the hope that like it's not just the supplements. I would even say, as I've been working for Superfast CPA, the thing that I recommend to people more is the pro course, because
Yes,
that is where you really can change how you look at the exam, really how you can understand how to study for the exam. And it seems like you really soaked that in.
absolutely. And I will say like that for what it's worth, I found Nate on YouTube, or I think maybe it's in the Reddit group, somebody mentioned it and I did it, but I cut out all social media and I was not on watching Netflix during my time of studying, because we all have only so much on our plate that we can handle. And there's Facebook groups for studying for the CPA exam. There's countless stuff on LinkedIn where people are talking about different strategies and different coaches. And I think that it can be a huge distraction because there's always going to be a next best way that you could do something. Oh, let me go try this. Oh, let me go try that. And you become a squirrel like that's completely distracted and stuff. So I cut and that was something that hindered me previously before 2023. So I was like, we're locking in. And I cut out all social media. After I would take an exam and I'd be like, okay, I might pop in, but I was not in any Facebook groups because you see people, I failed for the umpteenth time. I did this or this happened or I'm struggling with this. And it can be really discouraging. Or if you fail and you go on LinkedIn or you go on these Facebook groups and you see all these people, I pass, that can be really discouraging. I cut it out completely.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I got a question, I know people in real life who've passed the CPA exam, I will ask them, right? But I cut out the distractions.
I love that. And I
Yeah.
like just talking about social media in general. I'm definitely a big proponent of, I don't even like social media at all, but specifically for the CPA exam, like it's just such a distraction, such a waste of time. Because if you're going to be on your phone, we tell you turn your phone into a study tool,
Yeah.
so I love that you said that. So it's been awesome talking to Genevieve, and I'm going to ask you the last question that we always ask everyone. So it's even if it's something we've already talked about in the podcast call, what would be your top 2 or 3 tips to somebody who's still going through the exams?
My top 2 or 3 tips, I'd say mindset, focus on the process without becoming emotionally attached to the results. Every little bit counts. It still takes 100 pennies to get to $1, right? So every little one of those pennies counts. So there's that. I'd say cut out distractions, get off of social media. And the third one is take a realistic look at your life and what you can handle. And I'll say, we haven't talked about this before, but I am a hobby seamstress and a dressmaker. And
Did you make that
so
dress?
I did not. I should have worn
Okay.
one that I made, but I didn't make this one. But you can see all of what I've made on social media if you can find me. I'm a hobby dressmaker, and one of the things that I had to give up during my studying was sewing as much as I like to. So it was a temporary sacrifice, but the journey is not easy, but it's worth it. And so I would say like taking a really hard look at, how bad do you want it? How is it going to change, the legacy for your family or your career, or what doors it will open, which it has for me. It doesn't happen overnight, but within 2 years, I can say that like a lot of doors have opened for me. So was the journey easy? No, not at all. But was it worth it? Absolutely. 100% recommend.
100% recommend. I love it. Yeah, those are some fantastic tips, Genevieve. And you've given a lot of amazing advice and just a great story throughout today. So I'm so glad that we got to talk, and congrats on being done. Even though it was a little while ago, congrats on being done.
It's still new
And
every day.
yeah,
I'm a
it still feels
CPA.
great, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You get to have those letters at the end of your name. So yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day and have a good day at work, and talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right, that was the interview with Genevieve. I think it was an awesome one. Again, I love hearing stories of people who've been out of school for a while. They're busy, they have kids, they have a very demanding job. These people who are obviously very busy, they can still pass the exams. And I thought Genevieve was an awesome example of that. And I loved that she was able to maintain her hobby throughout the process. And she did send me a picture afterwards of something that she had made, like one of the dresses that she had made. So it's just really cool to know that you can keep your hobbies, you can keep your family relationships. You don't have to sacrifice everything to pass the CPA exams if you have the right strategies. And that's what Superfast CPA is about. So again, make sure you go check out our Superfast CPA training webinar on SuperfastCPA.com. We will teach you the key ingredients to passing the CPA exam. Make sure you also check out becoming a Superfast CPA Pro member to get access to all of our great materials that will help you know how to pass the CPA exam and help you pass the CPA exam. Now, before you go, if you liked the episode, make sure to like it and leave a comment in the YouTube video or leave a rating in your favorite podcast app. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next episode.